All right, today we're going to dive into a topic that honestly goes way beyond any single religion or culture. It hits right at the core of what it means to be human. We're going to look at tasawwuf, not as some rigid set of rules, but as this timeless, universal map for personal transformation, a guide for the journey of, well, becoming truly human. Let's get into it. So let me start with a question. Does this sound familiar? You know that feeling, that kind of deep, nagging sense that something's missing? You can get the promotion, buy the cool stuff, be in the perfect relationship, but there's still this emptiness, this inner restlessness that no amount of worldly success seems to touch. Well, according to this wisdom, that feeling isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's the signal that a much deeper journey is waiting to begin. And that restlessness? It actually has a name, Bishar. You can think of it as our human factory setting. It's our biological default mode. When we're in this state of Bishar, we're basically living on autopilot, right? We're driven by our programming, our instincts, and all the beliefs we soaked up without ever really questioning them. And the number one symptom of being in this state, you guessed it, that constant inner void.
So here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We're going to start with that universal restlessness, and then get into the really crucial distinction between Bashar and Insan, these two states of being. Then we'll look at the spark that kicks off the whole journey and navigate the first three critical stages of the self. After that, we'll unpack the 5 essential keys you're going to need. And finally, we'll talk about the goal, which you'll see isn't really a destination at all, but an art of becoming.
Okay, so first things first, let's be clear about what we're talking about here. The sources describe tasawwuf not as one specific path, but as the main artery of truth that runs through all authentic spiritual teachings. It's like the universal wisdom, that shared current you can find everywhere, available to anyone from any background. And check this out, because this is a really powerful way to think about it. Imagine tasawwuf, this universal path, is pure water. It's essential, it's clear, it's the source. Now, all the different religions and philosophies, they're like fruit juices. They all have that essential water in them, but they've added their own cultural flavors, colors, maybe some sugar. And hey, nothing wrong with fruit juice. But tasawwuf is concerned with the pure water itself, the universal essence that we all need. So if we see this path as a universal essence, that brings us right to the heart of the matter. The journey is all about transforming from a Besher to an Insan. And this isn't just about, being a better person. It's a fundamental upgrade of our entire operating system. And wow, this really breaks it down, doesn't it? The word Beshad is actually linked to the root nisyi, which means to forget. So the Bashard is the one who's forgotten who they are, where they came from. But Insan, that comes from uns, which means to connect. The Insan is the one who's actively trying to remember, to connect back to their source. So you see, the Bashad is like the protective outer husk, living with that restlessness. But the Insan is the potential seed inside that husk, striving to find its true purpose. And this whole transformation isn't just about feeling different. It's about thinking different. The Besher operates with what's called akla miyash, the daily intellect. Its whole world is survival, money, status. It's always asking, how can I get more? But this journey awakens akla mid, the truth intellect. And that's the part of our mind that finally turns inward and starts asking the real questions. Who am I? Why am I even here? So, okay, we get what the goal is, this shift from one state to another. But what's the spark? What actually gets this whole thing started? It's not when things are comfortable and easy. It's something much, much deeper that the source is called dirt. Now, desert isn't just everyday trouble or pain. It's described as a sacred ache. It's this profound spiritual homesickness, a deep longing for your true origin that nothing in the material world can fix. That inner restlessness we talked about at the very beginning, that is the call of desert. It's the engine, it's the holy fire that finally pushes you to stop looking for answers out there and start searching in here. And that fire, that dirt, it gives you the guts to start questioning. Everything. The sources make it super clear. An unexamined belief, no matter how much you cherish it, isn't really yours. You're just borrowing it. You're living someone else's truth. The very first divine command in the Quran is oku, which means read, but it's interpreted here as a command to question. You have to be willing to smash the idols of your own assumptions. All right, so you've got the spark. Now you need a map for the road ahead. And that's what this is. This is an outline of the first critical stages of navigating your own inner self, or nefs. Think of it as a guide to your own inner landscape, helping you see where you are and what's coming next.
We all start at square one, nefs-i-amar, the commanding self. Here, we're basically blind to our own stuff. It's always someone else's fault, right? We're just run by our impulses. The first huge leap is when you cross into nefs-i-lavame, the self-aware self. This is the moment you finally look in the mirror, see your own flaws, feel genuine regret, and start taking responsibility. It's the true start of the journey. But then comes a really tricky part, nefs-i-milhame, the inspired self. You start getting insights, feeling connected, but your ego can totally hijack it, making you think, wow, I'm so spiritual, which can throw you right back to the beginning. It's a real slippery slope.
So you might be wondering, what exactly keeps us stuck in that first stage, the commanding self? Well, the sources point to 7 specific fuels. There's kin, holding a grudge, which just poisons you from the inside. Kibber, arrogance, thinking you're better than everyone. Yalan, deceit, always wearing masks. Gadap, that uncontrolled rage. Shefet, just excessive, endless desire for, well, everything. Grur, a fragile, touchy pride that gets offended by anything. And finally, Hers, a destructive greed that doesn't care who it hurts. Recognizing these is the first step to starving them of their power. Okay, so we've got the map of our own inner world. Now, what about the toolkit? Because this isn't just about thinking about things, it's about doing the work, and you need the right tools to get through it. Here they are, the 5 essential keys. First, and this is the absolute non-negotiable, is samimiyet, or sincerity. The sources say, without genuine intent, even a prophet couldn't help you. Second is edep, which is like a deep respect for the path. It's what unlocks the door. Third, we've talked about this, sorgalama, relentless questioning. Fourth is emek, effort. Simple as that. There are no shortcuts. You can't buy or inherit this stuff. You have to earn it. And finally, you need an aina, which means a mirror. This could be a guide, a teacher, a wise friend, someone who can reflect your own self back to you, especially the parts you can't see on your own. All right, let's talk about the end game here. Because the goal, well, it might not be what you think. It's not about stuffing your head with spiritual facts and quotes. The point is total transformation. All that knowledge, it's not the destination, it's just the car that gets you there. So there are 3 levels of knowing on this path. The first one is ilm el yaqin. This is intellectual knowledge. It's knowing the map, it's collecting the information. The metaphor used is that this is like reading an entire encyclopedia about a lemon. You know everything about it. Its pH, its history, its vitamin C content. It's important, but you still haven't tasted it. The second level is ayn el yaqin, which is the certainty of witnessing. This is where that mirror we talked about becomes crucial. You're not just reading about the path anymore. You're seeing someone live it. You're witnessing the truth in action. So with our lemon, this is like moving from the encyclopedia to actually watching someone bite into a lemon and seeing their face pucker up. Suddenly, it's a lot more real. And finally, we get to haq el yaqin. This is it. This is the whole point. It's the certainty of direct experience. This is where you stop reading, you stop watching, and you taste the lemon for yourself. It's described as a state of being where all doubt just vanishes. Because you don't just know the truth anymore, you have become it. And the big takeaway here is that you can't rush this. In our world of life hacks and instant gratification, this path is completely different. It's organic. You can't force a seed to become a tree overnight. It needs the right soil, it needs water, it needs patience and time and effort. This journey of becoming human is a process of natural, secret growth. You can only nurture it. Which, of course, brings this all back to you. We've laid out the map, from that first restless feeling of the Besher to the connected piece of the Insan. We've looked at the inner stages, the tools you need, and the real goal of it all. And we've seen that this incredible journey doesn't start with some huge event. It starts with the quiet courage to acknowledge that inner ache and to ask a real question. So the only question that matters now is the one right there on the screen. Where does your journey begin?